Ink. Sequential Intrigue.
But it couldn't be, because Data just doesn't play around like that. It doesn't make any sense. Unless, of course... But no, that could never...
What's all that?
Nothing. It's projects, paper, personal, just doing some personal paper projects, you know. Boring stuff, really. Not the kind of boring stuff you liked. Different boring stuff. General boring stuff.
Uh-huh. Okay. Speaking of the boring stuff that I like, did you send the numbers on oceanic versus semi-oceanic numerical discovery and base systems over to Amari for cataloging?
Yeah, I got that done earlier this shift. Why?
Because I got some feedback from Amari that the numbers were well organized, delivered on time, and entirely professional. So you're telling me you did that?
I can do my job. That's why I'm doing this now, because I was doing that before and finished up all of that, so I started on this. Plus, there's gonna be more of that later, so really right now is the only time I had to do this before I go back to doing that.
And this is...
personal.
I'm suspicious for a lot of reasons, but against my better judgment, I'm gonna let this play out.
I appreciate that.
It's a small office, though, so maybe we could keep the conspiratorial muttering under your breath to a minimum.
Can do, boss.
Oh yeah, there's definitely something going on with you. Keep it down, please.
Dear illegal personal diary I'm not really supposed to have on this ship. I'm storing you in the least used and most filthy waste removal location within reasonable walking distance. It isn't pleasant, but it's the safest spot for something like this. Something this unscrupulous, something this scandalous, something this conspiratorial. I just noticed it a week or so ago. I was at my post, working diligently, completing all my tasks, smashing all my goals, you know, the regular sort of stuff I do, when my eyes, completely unbidden, drifted across the EBI folder, which someone must have carelessly left out and open at my workstation. I was, of course, busy with my incredibly important job, so I couldn't be partaking in that sort of distraction. But a small brown stain on the bottom edge of a page caught my attention like a coffee table catching the corner of your smallest tentacle in the middle of the night. Suddenly, and it made me swear. If you tilted your head a bit and kind of squinted at it, the stain resolved itself into the vaguest shape that somehow seemed familiar to me. I knew this shape, though I had never seen it before, but how? My mind bucked, throwing itself again and again at the problem it couldn't solve, yet was swiftly becoming obsessed with. I knew it. I knew this shape in a different way than I knew the dozens or so I was taught the names of at school. I knew this shape with my very being. The ever-shifting beast that was the truth beneath the stain ripped and tore at the confines of my mind. But what was it? It came together in a leap of logic that could have made a computer flush in abject shame and despair. The abstract shape of the stain wasn't abstract at all. Far from it. In fact, it was a perfect top-down floor plan of our office if you reflected it in the mirror. Every cabinet and desk and all four corners exactly where they should be, rendered in perfect scale to the real thing. It was even missing a door. And right at the edge of one filing cabinet, there was a small star with an 8th point added, just like the moon pirates used to do in all the early development stories that were supposedly the next step in edutainment. I sat just a few feet away from that filing cabinet every single day. This mystery had caught my attention and made itself my partner, but it was about to learn why all my educators have described me as difficult to work with or an immense distraction to themselves and others. It was only a matter of time.
No, I'll be honest, I didn't expect your spirit to break this fast, but the work you've been doing lately is really good. You're hardly making any mistakes, you're not causing all that many disruptions, you barely complain about the life you find yourself trapped inside of somehow because of forces beyond your control, and the off-white glands swelling in your major joints indicating lack of sleep really go nicely with the uniform.
Do you think we should clean up in here a little bit? It's dirty, right?
Do you know what a non sequitur is?
Bethany, come on. Stop responding in ways that don't logically continue the established conversation. Should we clean? There's a lot of dust. I could start with the filing cabinet here. Look. Ugh. Filthy.
It's always dusty. It's a dusty ship. Just be glad the gravity only pulls in one direction now. We've got other stuff to do. Besides, janitorial will handle it within a couple of years if we get a request in by the end of the week.
Yeah, but we don't need to bother janitorial, do we? You said it yourself. I've been doing good lately. Think of it as a gift.
Cleaning implies a level of passion that died long before you arrived in this office.
Oh, okay. That's fine. It was just a thought.
No problem. The occasional thought isn't bad. Let's just remember that we're trying to do our jobs here, not win any awards for it.
I got it. Understood.
All right then.
You know, speaking of janitorial, I was talking with one of their people outside the cafeteria the other morning.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, nice people. We actually got to talking about dust.
That quick? Huh? That's a heck of a way to start the day.
They said that some scientists back planetside had actually studied the makeup of dust.
No kidding.
Yeah, looking back, it seemed pretty obvious that it's something that happened. I just never thought about it, you know?
Sure. Perfect breakfast conversation.
They were telling me that in a contained area, like a small office in the bowels of a large ship, the dust can be made up of almost 62% follicular and skin flakings from employees.
Lovely.
And that got me thinking, you know, since I've been here for a while now, a good bit of that must be mine, huh? It's kind of weird to think about just how much of each other we take into our bodies just by breathing in this enclosed space for hours and hours on end. How about if you looked inside your lungs? There'd just be a little pile of me at the bottom. Just a dusty little Jonas pile hanging out in Bethany's lungs, growing bigger by the day. Interesting, right?
Jonas?
Yes?
You have my permission to clean. As long as you promise to never say anything like that again.
It wasn't easy, but then again, nothing about my job ever is. Except the easy stuff, of course. By using cleaning as my ruse, I was able to inspect the filing cabinet, with Bethany being none the wiser. I felt bad for deceiving my coworker, but then again, this could be dangerous. They don't pay many of us to play hero after all. Technically, not even me. The clue was ingenious, and it took me a very long time to work it out. Somebody lacking my detective caliber might have given up the trail entirely, but I noticed a series of seemingly unrelated scratches and dents near the bottom of my metallic file-holding friend. I had never been in the Planetary Scouts, but when I looked at those imperfections, something in my head told me that's where the answer lay. But why? I took a small impression of the scratches and dents on a scrapped sheet of paper that was lying nearby, and mentally filed away a note that we really did need to get janitorial services to come by. This place was filthy, and I hadn't done much actual cleaning. As I sat at my desk, pretending to work, my mind was spinning and obsessing like a passenger on one of the torture carnival rides from Planetside. But was I one of the ticket-holding passengers there to enjoy a few minutes of carnival thrills? Or one of the state-mandated prisoners about to endure years of whirling and twirling as they served their barbaric sentences? Only time could tell. What was the connection between the scouts and this clue? Why couldn't I let that piece of it go? Where was this mystery taking me? Why have my headache started to pound like an off-time bass riff in a post-synth jazz song? It just didn't make any sense.
You've been staring at that bunch of papers for the last quarter of a shift. You gonna file those anytime soon?
Huh? Oh, yeah, definitely. Just doing the last few checks.
You're double-checking things now, too. Do you need to go to medical?
No, I'm fine. I'm fine. Hey, random question. Were you ever in the Scouts by chance?
Scouts? Like the planetary scouts?
Yeah.
No. I wanted to be, but my caregiver didn't like the politics. I just wanted to learn metallic whittling and intergalactic Morse code and how to make people feel guilty when they don't buy something from your little booth when you're out and about, but, you know, whatever. Why do you ask?
Oh, just thinking of childhood, I guess. I had to double check a lot of things in my childhood, so that's probably why my mind went there.
Gotcha. Were you ever a scout?
Yeah, for a little bit.
Did you like it?
I didn't pay a whole lot of attention.
Intergalactic Morse code. That was the key I was looking for. Slashes and circles, the oldest messaging trick in the messaging trick book of messaging tricks. Unfortunately, I had spent too much time in the Scouts doodling with a stick on the ground instead of listening to any of the leaders. So I never actually learned any intergalactic Morse code for myself. However, that wasn't anything that wouldn't be solved with a quick trip to the communications sector during a break. Hand over a little bribe, get a little info from the people who know it best. Bing, bang, boom. Clue deciphered. And that's exactly how it all went down. One priceless family heirloom later, and I was in business for myself. The message on the cabinet was short, as I knew it would be. It was also just a string of numbers, which I didn't expect, and which weren't helpful in the slightest. 21, 13, 23, 950. It meant nothing, unless there was something inherently important about a number just slightly over 211 million. After a few hours of thought on the subject, turning my mind down every back alley of thought it dared to walk, I concluded there was nothing important about that number inherently. It was a very dull few hours. I needed something to drag my interest out of the boredom bar it had been secluded in, and I knew just the thing.
If you're really just gonna sit around reading the EBI folder this brazenly, I'm gonna assume your work is done, right?
Everything is cataloging and there's nothing to do until it finishes.
Are you doing okay?
Yeah, why?
You've been very quiet and almost professional lately.
People get quiet and vaguely professional sometimes.
And you spent the last couple hours muttering a number really quietly to yourself and then saying, "No," in this sad and frustrated voice.
Yeah, people do that sometimes too.
Do they?
How long has it been since you've been around a bunch of other people?
It's been a good long while.
Then yeah, people absolutely do that sometimes.
Okay, well, be careful with the folder. It's technically contraband.
I can cover it with other work if anybody comes in. It looks like everything else in here.
What story are you reading?
It's one called Playing Anti-Chess While Dying Alone.
Where is that at?
Let me find it here. It's no planet designation, incorporation date 5019356QQ.
I meant, where's it at in the folder?
kind of beginning towards the middle-ish.
What page number?
There's page numbers.
Inside left, down at the bottom. Every 50 pages.
I never noticed that.
Yeah, it's really helpful when you get into the 100 millions. Otherwise, it all just kind of runs together.
100 millions?
Jonas?
Huh?
What page is your story on?
211,323,950.
That's towards the beginning? It can't be.
Oh, I mean, 1,895,450-ish.
Yeah, that sounds about right. You sure you're okay?
I'm fine.
Because those were two very different numbers.
Totally fine.
Okay then, I'll take your word for it. Don't work too hard, okay? Just enough to get the job done. We don't want anybody knowing we put an actual effort here. Then they'll start expecting things from us.
Nobody's ever had to tell me that before.
I believe that, Jonas. I do.
Without even knowing it, Bethany had blown this mystery wide open. Page numbers, of course. And every 50 pages, it fit perfectly. Too perfectly. It was almost as if Bethany wanted me to figure this out somehow. But how could they know? How could they know about it when I had been playing everything so normal and nonchalant? It didn't add up. But I couldn't get sidetracked with questions like that. I had a date with page 211,323,950, and all my hearts were pounding like an adolescent about to entwine tentacles for the first time. As I scanned the story, it all began to piece itself together in my mind. Love, betrayal, intrigue, and then my worst fears realized. Murder. And all centered around the person that was currently sitting half a room away from me. Bethany! I leaned on the table, adopting a posture of work-worn weariness while I tried to process this. It just didn't make sense. It didn't fit the picture of the person who I'd come to know and be trained by. My leader, my teacher, aboard this ship, my only possible friend, although they would deny it. And so many unanswered questions. Why would Bethany do something so callous and cruel? Why point me in the right direction? Why leave a trail of obscure clues in the first place? What was there to gain with so much to lose? I knew I'd have to confront Bethany sooner or later. The tension between us was unimaginable. The room might as well have been a closet, every move and every moment magnified by stress. I, of course, kept my cool, but I knew something had to be done. Remembering a vague plot point of a story I'd nearly been forced to read during my educational period, I charted my course and launched my psychological attack.
Hey, do you want to hear a story I just read?
No thanks.
Oh, okay. Are you sure? It's a really good one.
I've either read or uploaded a good majority of them. I'm sure I've heard it before.
Yeah, but you might not have, or you might have forgotten. That can happen. People forget.
They do, but I'm also working and don't really need the distraction right now.
Oh, well, yeah. That's understandable. I'm just saying, it's one of my favorites.
Jonas, you might have finished everything I gave you for today, and it's fine if you want to read that old thing quietly as long as you're not caught with it. But you don't get to ruin my day and put me behind schedule because you want to read me a story.
Am I allowed to improve your day and give you the fire you need to finish out your shift with the story?
Is it a long one?
No, it's pretty short, but very important. Short, but important, so you gotta listen really good.
How short?
Just a couple minutes.
Okay, I'm gonna start working again in a couple of minutes then, whether you're done or not.
Okay, totally, deal. Royal Swine, discovered by Bethany, uploaded and saved by Bethany, Incorporation Day.
Okay, see, when it says discovered by Bethany, that's a pretty big clue that I already know the story.
I think you'll still want to hear this.
You're so friendly, yet so wrong most of the time.
As as I was saying, incorporation date 8/28/8282R.
A lot of 8s and 2s in that date.
Are you going to interrupt the whole way through?
Only as long as it amuses me.
Royal swine. 2 quadrupeds worked the fields near the communal burrows. They were Brizanch and Penabra, and they had known each other ever since they had grown old enough to begin working for the fellowship of families they belonged to. The plots of land were right next to each other, set a small distance away from most other plots, in a small hollow formed by stones that would not be moved, and a small creek that aided in irrigation when the rain refused to fall for long periods of time that it did. None of the other quadrupeds wanted to work that particular area because things didn't grow particularly well, so you never really felt like you were doing any good work there. You were just kind of existing.
Jonas, I already deal with my own terrible job. This isn't exactly making my day better.
You're the one who put it in the folder in the first place. Give it a chance.
You, of all people, should know that everybody makes mistakes.
Ignoring that, since they had the worst place to work in the whole of the fields near the communal burrows, Brizanch and Penabra bonded quickly, formed a friendship that really helped the two of them get through the day in a more or less neutral to pleasant state. Their friendship got so strong, in fact, that Brizanch told Penabra a secret one day when they were alone. Brizanch told Penabra that they had discovered a way to manipulate the biovesicles in their back in a way that made a little sort of humming sound. It wasn't very pleasant, but it was fun in an annoying, half-tuneful sort of way. Penabra was very excited about this and spent the whole rest of the day jiggling and jolting their own biovesicles until they were able to hum right along with Brizanch. And that's what they did for days and weeks and months and years. Spent their time together in their little field patch away from most of the others, humming along to one another and just trying their best.
How heartwarming. This is almost done, right?
Could you just, please?
I'm pretty sure your couple minutes is up.
It's almost done, I promise.
It better be.
The humming and the field tending continued until there came a growing season that was the driest anybody could ever remember. Everybody's patch of field started producing like Brizanch's and Penabra's, and Brizanch and Penabra could barely grow anything at all. Times were tough, and there was less humming between the two friends and more arguing and attempting to coax life from the ground that was unwilling to give it. After one particularly bad argument, Penabra walked off in that haughty way that most quadrupeds seem to have. Brizanch watched them go and then returned to their work, humming a soft, if angry, tune to themselves. Penabra returned soon after with a group of the elders of the community who had been informed about Brizanch's humming and were there to put a stop to it. Brizanch wouldn't be allowed to return to the communal burrows until the drought stopped, since all the troubles the group had been having were clearly tied to Brizanch's newfound ability to hum. It took months for the drought to break, and in that time, Brizanch never hummed, never spoke a word, in fact. And when the rains finally came again, and the creek swelled, and the fields grew in their beautiful purples and gold, they brought confusion and tragedy with them as Penabra disappeared. They were found weeks later when the water receded, having drowned in the raging muddy creek. The death was ruled to be an accident, even though they knew one had nothing to do with the other. Brizanch never hummed again. All the joy had left it somehow. Brizanch just tended to both fields, then kept to themselves forever.
Are we done?
What do you think?
I think that's longer than you said.
No, deeper than that.
Jonas, what are you getting at?
I just want to know if it hit you emotionally at all. You know, dug up any memories connected to any piece of your past, explained through aren't some terrible piece of your history and compelled you morally and emotionally to some sort of outburst or statement that might be a clue in a mystery currently being solved. You know, general stuff like that.
Huh. Have you been feeling all right lately?
Oh, come on. We don't want to talk about me. We want to talk about you.
Let me see your pupils.
My pupils are fine.
Jonas, let me see. All your pupils, Jonas. Yep, that's what I thought. Look at the middle ones. Look how small they are.
There's nothing wrong with my pupils. This is all a distraction. You're trying to distract me.
Okay, first off, the wall panels shouldn't be calling the floor sealant immovable. Secondly, what could I possibly be trying to distract you from?
Oh, sure. You can play dumb all you want, but I know about your old partner and what you did to them.
Excuse me?
Yeah, that's right. I found it. I found your little clues that you hid. I know all about the stain you put on the bottom of the EBI folder that looks like our office if you reflect it in the mirror. I know about the slashes and circles you put there designed to look like regular wear and tear, but in reality, giving me a secret in intergalactic Morse code, leading me back to the EBI folder and to a very specific story which tells me the tale of two creatures with names that begin with the letter B and the letter P, both working a dead-end job until after an argument, one kills the other, exactly mirroring what must have happened in this exact office before I came to work here. You are Brizet. Your old coworker was Penabra. The two of you got into some sort of fight and you killed them. And ever since, your conscience has been driving you insane, forcing you to leave clues and a trail to a piece of evidence that was obviously written by you as a form of a confession.
Are you done?
Yeah, that's all of it.
Okay. We're gonna take you to medical.
You're gonna have my mind wiped. I knew it!
Jonas, there's no point in wiping an empty mind. You're just sick.
I've never felt better in my life. A little obsessive, I guess, a little nervous and on edge, maybe. But what could you expect? I've been working as a detective for weeks. I'm just a little stressed. That's all. Is it hot in here? Why is it so hot in here? What did you do to the heat, you sadistic murderer?
No, Jonas. You're sick. You haven't had your data inoculation, have you?
See? I'm not crazy. You're crazy. There's no such thing.
Jonas, hold on. Teammate Jonas is overdue and should immediately report to medical for routine inoculations. Any illness or injury occurring during the shift that may have been prevented by a routine inoculation will not be covered or treated. Reminders will not be sent about routine inoculations, and they have been labeled an unnecessary expense.
But I'm not sick.
Not physically, no. We deal in data, Jonas. That's how we can get sick. So much information flows through here that if you're not properly vaccinated against it, certain pieces get into your mind, multiply, and begin to take over. Some people get really obsessive about doing the job perfectly. Some people get addicted to the data stream and refuse to stop working until they physically can't. And some people, like you, begin to connect to random bits of extra data that don't actually go together until it becomes a full-blown conspiracy.
But the story fits so well, it's perfect.
We're playing with big numbers. The EBI has hundreds of millions of entries. You can find one in there that fits almost any existing conspiracy, and 1,000 more that haven't even been considered. If you look at some of the background metadata for that story, you'll see that it's not real. There was an eating contest on one planet where these beings had to consume a bunch of soup with little bits in it made to look like their alphabet. 2 of them became sick afterwards and expelled most of the soup from their bodies, and all the little alphabet shapes fell in such a way that they made this story.
So my big conspiracy, the thing I've spent so many hours on, the thing that's taken up my entire waking life lately?
Word vomit, Jonas. It's all word vomit.
Oh. Huh. Well, I'm gonna go to medical.
Feel better, detective.
This is Gil. I have found this diary in my favorite waste removal location. I've been enjoying it while removing waste, but then it just kind of stops for no reason, and that makes me sad. It makes me wonder what the overall point of the story was, and question my own assumptions that I've made thus far, and that leads me into a dangerous level of introspection that I did not anticipate nor agree to when I began enjoying this light entertainment. Once again, this is Gil. I am removing waste. This is not my diary. I just wanted my opinion to be known. Hi there. Gil again. I guess the story isn't going to go anywhere anymore, so I'm just gonna throw this out. It's been here for years and years, and I just can't hope anymore. I've built my own life. I can't get sucked into this. Once again, this is Gil. This is still my favorite waste removal location, but I think this will be the last time I visit. Too many memories. Too many broken dreams. Gil again. I didn't throw it out. I just don't know what my life has become.
Ink is written, produced, and edited by Monte D, Monteleagre and Alexander Wolfe.
Hi, my name is Allyson Levine, and I voice the character of Bethany.
Hello, my name is Raimy Washington, and I voice the character of Jonas.
Hello, I'm Katie Ploetz, and this episode I played
Gil.
Hello, my name's Ellis MacMillan, and I voice the Robo-Archivist.
And I'm Leah Cardenas. I read the ship announcement as well as the credits. Find us online at inkthepodcast.buzzsprout.com for links to all our social media, or connect with us directly at Ink the Podcast. That's at INC the Podcast. All lowercase, all one word, all the time. As a fledgling show attempting to lift off, we're not above asking you for a little help in spreading the word. Ratings and reviews on whatever platform you consume content on helps feed the algorithmic beasts that control all our lives from behind the shadows. And if you're far too unplugged from the system for that, word of mouth has always been a wonderfully organic way to build a community. And we'd be delighted to be the latest podcast you tell people to listen to, knowing full well that most of them never will. One must imagine Sisyphus happy after all. Ink is a production of Wolf Mountain Workshop. Happiness is productivity.